for the courts. And of course, jumping through hoops for people who promised to help me if I jumped through those hoops. Even hoops that didn't work, and I explained to them that it didn't work, and I'd already ordered it and put it on YouTube that it didn't work, but they didn't want to look at that. They wanted the idea to work. Even though it had not worked in the past, it was not likely to work then, I still tried to appease those people by doing as they asked, although they made me do it by myself, so they just assumed, because they weren't there, they didn't actually do it with me, they told me to do things. Big Boom, the title of this video. This is Big Boom 2, because as tired as I am during the last video, I went off on a tangent. Here on YouTube, and on, well, even little kids' sites. Well, I've got a vehicle here, DOT 3 fluid. I know from YouTube channels, and from, of course, other sources on the internet, that if I mix pool shock treatment with DOT 3 fluid, it'll make a big boom. Now, even though I had shock treatment and DOT 3 fluid, because DOT 3 fluid is for my brakes, it's going to be in my vehicle. Now, the pool shock treatment. Did I ever actually have pool shock treatment in my vehicle? No. No. That's not bright. I've got DOT 3 fluid in here. And one of my DOT 3 fluid containers fucking spilled. So if just a little bit of that pool shock treatment touches that, I get instant combustion. And it will happen. This isn't a maybe it'll combust. No, it's going to. It literally will combust. So yes, that's something that could be used for making bombs. But you get to see on the internet all these places that are showing you how to do this. They tell you expressly, don't do this, it's dangerous. Yes, I could make bombs. That wouldn't help me any. That would greatly increase the chances of blowing myself up. And I want you to imagine if I blow myself up but survive it. Holy hell, no, I'm not going to risk that. That's why I think that assisted suicide should be legal. When you fuck it up, man, you could be stuck as a vegetable for the rest of your days. Or worse than that, be completely conscious, but be a paraplegic. No, I don't mess with explosives. Another chemical concoction that they have on the internet, including here on YouTube, is the combination of stump remover and sugar, and you can increase it with rust. That's for sugar rockets. There's recipes on Sonic Dad of how to make those as well, so that you and your kids can sit down and make some cool, fun, at-home Estes rockets. But you're not paying a crap ton of money for them. Sonic Dad has worked together with known YouTubers like King of Random to bring a lot of fun projects and toys to you guys and your kids in the name of science. But those things could be misused, and also, if mishandled, could result in, well, the loss of fingers or the loss of life. No, I don't want to risk that. The thing is that There's a danger inherent in the containers themselves. The .3 fluid, that was more my fault than anything else. All this heavy stuff, constantly moving it around, it's my fault that it got crushed and spilled. But then when you look at the pool shock treatment, it comes in a little bag. You know, basically it's sealed up around the edges exactly the same as a Ziploc bag. If it's got a little hole in it and just a little bit of powder comes out of that, that's all it takes. Just one granule of that stuff will light .3 fluid on fire. Likely within about 30 to 45 seconds. If it's submersed, it could take up to 2 minutes. Now, I've got this knowledge. Why haven't I used this knowledge if I'm this big, dangerous, horrible person who's supposedly able to kill people from inside a prison? Apparently. That's right. Apparently, blaming me for Christine Bouhit's death because she overdosed and because I had predicted she was gonna. Who didn't fucking see that coming? Of course I fucking predicted it. I've seen that many times with other addicts. They finally get a place, and then they can do their drugs whenever they want. They don't have to wait for an hour or 45 minutes for the foot traffic in the area to go away so that you can shoot up and hopefully not get the cops called on you. Now you can do it in the privacy of your own home. And then you got people who have got access to that heroin and that fentanyl. And, yeah, they want a warm floor to sleep on, too. These are Maddie Bowe's customers, by the way. These were Natalie Bollinger and Alicia Bollinger's customers, by the way. These homeless addicts. And these homeless addicts will share their drugs with an addict in a house in exchange for staying on the floor for a night. Christine Bouhit overdosed and was not anything that anyone didn't see coming. Everybody that knew her saw that telegraphed almost a decade ago. We knew it was going to happen eventually. It was an eventuality. We knew if she ever got into housing, just like many other addicts, she was going to be dead quick, fast, and in a fucking hurry. She was going to overdose. Homeless people who had heroin, but they didn't want to waste their heroin when it's freezing out because, well, maybe you should ask them about that experience sometime. No, they'll share their drugs with you if you'll provide a warm place for them to do their drugs there. You know why Natalie Bollinger's dad was giving her heroin? Because she just let her and let him do whatever he wanted. And let his business associates do whatever they wanted. Maybe you should take a look at the correspondence between Rose M. Kelly and I on Ted Bollinger. Or the correspondence between Danica Garner, myself, on Ted Bollinger. Or the correspondence between Alicia Bollinger and myself on Ted Bollinger. Natalie and myself on Ted Bollinger is the first thing I exposed. You called me crazy for telling the truth. You went out of your way to look the other way and claim that it's always somebody else's fault. No, as a mandated reporter in the state of Nebraska, it's all of your fault. Anybody who watched my videos who is in the state of Nebraska that did not make a police report has broken the law in the state of Nebraska. Well done, dumbasses. Now, as far as big booms go, yeah, I'm trying to create quite a wake. I don't mean a wake as in an Irish traditional funeral. I mean a wake as in, well, like a tidal pool. Or when you do a cannonball in the local pool, you create a wake. I tried to drop my bombs in court. I'm not talking literal explosives, I'm talking about this evidence. These people ignored the abuse until I was suicidal, and then they abused me for being suicidal over the abuse. Yeah, way to help me, assholes. Yes, I know enough about explosives to take household materials or things that I can pick up at the Home Depot or the Home and Garden, or even Tumulum Lumber over there. If I wanted to, I could have done so hundreds of times over. With the way that I've had to move from one end of the country to the other, I could have stopped at my predators' houses and tried to blow them up instead of trying to get the cops to listen. Now, did I try to blow their houses up? No, because if I'd have tried to blow their houses up, they'd be fucking dead. It would have happened, they'd be done for. There would be no telling their story or playing fucking victim. They'd be fucking dead. I understand that I am not going to win a one-on-one fight with James Payton. James Payton is fucking huge. I got a shit ton of disabilities, and this guy's on steroids, by his own admission. He's huge. He is massive. Jamie said she wasn't into guys with big muscles. She thought it was gross, and look. She goes out with a roid freak who beats on her. Or throws her down the stairs, according to what her son said. Or pushes her into bookshelves, according to what James said. You know, one of the posts that I made that I got Facebook banned for 30 days for, you know what it was? This is right after Natalie was killed, all right? And apparently, according to Amanda, hold on a second, Amanda Engeline, sorry, there's a lot of Amandas. Amanda Jonas, Amanda Demet, Amanda Engeline, then those aren't even the only Amandas. There's also Amanda Payne. Yeah, lots of Amandas. Oh, and Amanda Balehash, and what was the other Amanda? There was also an Amanda who was supposed to be my investigator. Now, that's one that really pissed me off. With every court date, I also had to travel to those areas. It cost me $100 round trip every time I had to make those trips. It cost me $100 round trip to go to my court date. Then it cost me another $100 because the public pretender couldn't meet with me on the same day as the court date because they had court all day. So then I have to go back to an area where it is unsafe for me to be so that I can talk to the public pretender who didn't show up. Sometimes not to my court date, sometimes not to our appointments, sometimes not to either. But they're investigators. Their investigators in all of these situations had a 100% no-show ratio. I literally never, out of all of the times that I came down here to see their investigators, never once ever did those investigators actually show up. But of course, you tell me that I had a lawyer, that public pretenders are the same thing as a real lawyer. No, they're not. They don't work for you. They work for the state. A real lawyer works for you. A public pretender works for the state. And they trade clients like fucking baseball cards. So yeah. The court date, that's $100 every month. I was getting just a little over $600 a month when this all went down, okay? So there's $100 to go to the court date in Larimer. That's where Clearview was. There's also $100 to go to the court date in Boulder County. See that? I was sent to Clearview because I tried to turn in Waylon Lolatai in Boulder County. Waylon Lolatai charged me with assault. Clearview charged me with assault, which cleared up Waylon Lolatai and their goons to drop the charges finally, eventually, because they had Clearview was going to hold me as long as they could without dropping the charges, and then drop them at the last minute. When you're aware of their sleight of hand, you can record it, you can save it, but you also have to have the ability to record it and save it, and you also have to have help showing it if you're called mentally ill, because you're going to be denied all your rights. That's just plain and simple how it is. That's why mandatory reporters exist, so that people like me can turn in our predators. When we're going to mandatory reporters and they're telling us the things that Megan Misgatis is saying, and the things that Marcia Estrada are saying, why do we have mandated reporters if they're not going to report? Why do we have a law about the consequences for mandated reporters who don't do their jobs if there's not going to be any consequences? If nobody's actually going to do anything about it? If nobody is actually going to arrest those people for not doing that job? Sure, the law exists, it's just not enforced. You don't have to enforce the law when it comes to a homeless person or disabled person. Now, the homeless, with them being 1/120th the size of the black population, 1/120th the size of the disabled population, yet they account for just 1% below half of those killed by police in 2019. And guess what? With that ratio, about 50% times 120. We want to make it even, don't we? So let's say there's 100 people. No, we'll say 200, all right? 100 of those people who were killed were disabled. And 100 of those people who were killed were homeless. It's about the ratio that we have. Now, we have to increase, if we increase the population size of the homeless, so there's 60 million of them, that's 120 times 100. What's 120 times 100? Well, let's figure this out. We'll even write it out. Let's get a pencil and a piece of paper and actually write this out. Here's an envelope from Region 1, Behavioral Health, Attention NBB. Very nice. This will work perfectly. Oh, and then on the back, it's got a bunch of the phone calls that I made. Something in Windsor, Beyond Water Tower, Disability Law Center of Virginia, Disability Rights, Tennessee. That's right. I told you I was there, and I was calling those places. Oh, and I also wrote down their numbers. But we were doing math, weren't we? So we'll do, let's see if I can write this down. 120 times 100. All right, so we'll bring down the zeros. 0 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 1 times 0 is 0. Now we carry it over a space. 0 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 1 times 0 is 0. Now we carry it over another place, don't we? So we'll carry it over 2 places. All right, 0 times 1 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. So, if the homeless people had 60 million as a population, and the disabled had 60 million as a population, well, that would be 12,000. No, that's not right. It'd be 120,000. 120,000 dead homeless people for every 100 disabled people killed. And that would be about 120,000 homeless people for, no, it would be 12,000. That was correct. I'm sorry. So that's 12,000 homeless people out of a population size of 60 million. For every 100 killed of the disabled population of 60 million. Or 50 because, well, the black community is only 22%. So that's half the number per capita killed every year that the homeless is the disabled. We consider that 51% of those killed by police in 2019 were disabled, and 22.5% were black. We're actually giving a lot of numbers. We're giving quite a few digits there to the benefit of the doubt for black people. Because by cutting it only in half, 22.5 is less than half of 51, isn't it? Of course it is. Half of 51 is 25.5, not 22.5. And I saw different numbers, 100 or not 100, 22%. It was anywhere from 19% to 22%. And then there's the incarceration, which of course varies from region. That could be anywhere from 10% to 40%, depending on the population size. And in some communities, it's only white people. So there's no black people in those jails, which would mean that it's a 0%. But Chapel, Nebraska, when we got black people who come through, they get pulled over and they don't serve their time in Dual County for getting busted in Dual County. They serve their time in Garden County. That's right. Everybody arrested in Dual County goes to the Garden County jail. That's Michelle Quinn territory. They had already decided when they sent me there that they were going to send me to Lincoln, though, and that's because in Lincoln they could deny me all of my rights and claim it was protocol. It wasn't. They also used COVID as an excuse for denying my rights. And through all of this, with these predators actually threatening to kill me and then claiming that I threatened to kill them when I didn't, oh God, I gotta tell you, we're in the end of days. I keep hearing that from people. Well, you gotta understand, Sean, we're in the end of days. That's so cute. There have been fucking assholes carrying signs saying the end of the world is nigh since the Middle Ages. You go ahead and keep selling your bullshit. Although, it really, I guess, technically it's not bullshit because the end of the world is near for all of us. None of us are going to live forever. All these people want to pretend like I would kill people. I saved lives. I saved John Fox and his life by telling the truth. I saved Michelle Decini's life by telling the truth. I saved many other people's lives by telling the truth. What got people killed was folks who didn't want to tell the truth. They thought if they just ignored it, it would eventually go away. If your friend comes to you and says she's being raped and you think that you're going to ignore it till it goes away, no, she's just going to continue to get raped. She's going to get tired of getting raped, and she's going to get downtrodden and depressed because she tried to go to people for help and they just blew her off. They don't want to be friends with her because she's not positive all the time, but she's got to go home to daddy who's going to rape her again. She can't go to the cops alone because they'll lock her the fuck up. Yes, I know how to make explosives, and I chose not to. Yes, many of these people, I had their addresses. Many of them I could steal if I wanted to. go and kill them. And why am I, instead of going to the places where they are to kill them, why am I in Oregon? Why am I in Oregon instead of cutting Leslie Snell's dog's head off, or whatever the shit was she was trying to say about her dog? Why am I here in Oregon instead of blowing her head off? If that's my intent, no, they went out of their way to take it out of context, which is illegal, and the judge knew it. The fact that I recorded it means that I got to do something that a lot of people don't get to do. They try to keep your recording devices out of the courtroom so that if they break the law, well, they have control of the evidence, you don't. But due to safety issues and due to conflicts of interest and due to situations with Mandy Singer beyond my control and due to threats, harassment, and intimidation of my little sister, I didn't even get to go to my court date. Of course, they weren't going to let evidence in no matter what. That judge knew that there was a safety issue. He chose to ignore it. And you know what? Contrary to popular belief, no, he's not allowed to do that. I am an at-risk fucking adult. These people all wanted to use the mentally ill tag as an excuse not to do anything. Look, says it's that mentally ill tag that makes it so that you have to do something. You have to do something legally, because I am an at-risk adult. By your own accusations, I am an at-risk adult. So, yeah, you might want to think about that. You might want to think about the fact that at any point in time, yeah, sure, I can't beat James Payton in a one-on-one fight, especially with my disabilities. I definitely could have blown him up. And I'm going to tell you about one of the posts that I made. It was about the fact that I wasn't able or capable of killing James Payton. The fact that I admitted that I was not capable of killing James Payton, well, that got me put on a 30-day Facebook ban. Also, however, because Facebook informed me that I was being Facebook banned, I was able to get a screenshot of it. That's right, folks. Now, as far as the HEPA laws go, the HEPA laws were broken repeatedly when it came to me. And not for the safety of others either. This was malicious intent by malicious officers and malicious predators, known predators, like Ted Bollinger, Tim Beeson, Robert Franklin Warnick. It's not that I didn't tell anybody about the abuse. They didn't care. When it came to Chris Kurth, yeah, what did they want to tell me? Oh, it's no big thing. Oh, Chris Kurth's a pussy. Whatever. You can say whatever you want. That doesn't take away from the fact that he did threaten to kill me, and I did let you know. What'd you do about it? Blew me off. But I recorded you blowing me off, so that gives me the advantage. Also, when you're a drunken fucking idiot and can't remember shit, well, it's a good thing I recorded it, because then I get to throw your words in your face. I told the truth. You did tell me those things. I did record it, and I did post it. Now, with some of these people, I had to wait for them to say or do something extremely stupid. Like, claim things that happened didn't actually happen. And that right there is probably the most glorious thing about that conversation with Megan Misigatis. Although only half of it's recorded, which pisses me off, and I'm sure with everything that she had to say, she wasn't happy. Then again, she had a less than stellar performance. I'm sure she'd like to do it again. I'd like to do it again too. And this time have it recorded live on YouTube. But you think she's going to say those things to me a second time? she might. She claims she's 100% honest, so maybe she'll admit those things again. Maybe. But I won't hold my breath. I had to threaten people to try to get a court date to show that the Bollingers and their cronies were threatening, harassing, and intimidating people. Nobody should have to do that, least of all a disabled person. Now, a lot of people have it in their heads that if me, being 1/3 of James Payton's size and disabled, can't beat him up, that I'm not manly and I'm not tough and I'm not brave. I think the fact that I didn't blow him up or shoot him is the important part to note. Because I got verification from him, things that even his cousin Seth wanted to call me a liar for saying James Payton admitted to them. So Seth was wrong. Ha ha, Seth. Jamie's own son verified it. The things that Jamie said were untrue. I already got verification from her son and from James Payton that those are actually true stories. So even her own son and her boyfriend, one of her boyfriends at the time, verified I was telling the truth when she wouldn't. James Payton admitted to pushing Jamie. And Jamie's son admitted that Jamie said that James pushed her down the stairs, and that's where them bruises come from. And of course, as long as I keep minding my P's and Q's on YouTube, they won't be able to destroy that evidence. Oh, and I also wanted to say to Michelle Decini, ha ha, I told you that one of these days you were going to be on the other side of the bars. And I was correct. I wrote the same thing to Sarah Nelson. I let her know one of these days she's going to be on the other side of the bars. And, well, I was correct about that, wasn't I? I also said that Polly Olson was going to be on the other side of them bars. And look at this. God is glorious. Did I do it for glory? No. I did it for the victims.